How do successful consultants get clients? Well, there's a typical progression that I've seen over the years. And in this video, I'm going to break down what that looks like so that you can see where you are and what is likely coming next. Now, how do I know this? First of all, I've been consulting for over 20 years, running multiple consulting businesses. But in addition to that, for the last 14, 15 years, we've been working at Consulting Success, guiding and advising and coaching and training consultants all around the world in many different industries. So this is from my own experience of being in the trenches, as well as working with thousands of consultants and seeing what actually works and what that progression looks like. So let's go through it. And I will just make one quick mention here that as I kind of talk through the progression, there's different variations of this. I'm not going to cover all the different ways that consultants can go about getting clients because there's many different ones. And I'm also not going to stand here and profess to you that there's one best way, as some, online gurus or whatever they want to call themselves might do. Because the reality is that what works for one person may not be the right model or structure or pricing strategy for another person. And so you want to take into consideration where you are and what your goals are and what kind of lifestyle you want to build and what kind of company you want to run. Based on all that, then you put a plan in place. And that's exactly what we do with all of our clients in our Clarity Coaching program, is actually create personalized, custom strategic growth plans for them and then help them and guide them through that to achieve the success they want. But let me come back. Let's now talk about the progression of how most consultants go about getting clients. So the first kind of way, and this comes from a lot of data that we've collected over the years, but we've also seen this firsthand, and that is that the first point of getting clients for most consultants is their network. And here's kind of two sources of where we've seen this show up. One is we've done studies at consultingsuccess.com where we've asked thousands of consultants over the years, where did your first client come from? And over 50% said that their first consulting client was actually a former employer. Now, that doesn't mean that their first client was the company they had just left to become a consultant. It means that one of their previous employers became their first client. Now, the other source of this is that I host the Consulting Success podcast. I think at this stage, we're somewhere around 400 or getting close to that number of episodes. I can't keep up anymore, but it's something like that. And one of the questions that I ask every single person I interview is, where did you get your first client? And the vast majority of people say that it was through their network. So for you as a consultant, as some people like to say, your network is your net worth. And the important thing to remember here is that you never want to burn bridges, that the people that you know are likely going to be your first clients. If you're, consulting right now, the opportunity for you, if you haven't done this a lot, is to reach out to your network. One of the first things that we do with clients in our coaching program, if they really want to jumpstart their marketing, is a process called network reactivation. We give them scripts and templates and all that, but you go out to the marketplace, or I should say to your network in the marketplace, and you find out who they know, and you find out if they might need some assistance. And you do it in a way that isn't salesy, but that generally drums up a lot of new business. There's a lot of people out there that have not been in touch with people they know for, many weeks or many months. And so to reactivate that network, right, can be very, very effective. If you're still working and you're thinking about becoming a consultant, then your network and the people you have around you right now are incredibly important. All of your colleagues, your bosses, the suppliers, vendors, everyone in your industry, everyone that you're meeting at different events, these are all people that could potentially become clients for you or really great referral sources. And so the next way, if we look at the progression, so most people start their consulting business, their first client, 2, 3 clients are just through their network. Now, the next progression after that is just simply doing good work. Right? You get a client through your network, you do great work for them. That typically leads to them talking about you. And now you start getting another client or two from that. And this can go on depending on, your business and your situation. Some people, they find this can last them for many months, others for many years. But you do great work. And what happens is you get referrals, and you do more work and you get more referrals. And so that can take your business quite far. The next progression after that is really about content. And so when I say content, what I'm really talking about is like building your body of work, really amplifying, increasing the visibility of your expertise so that the marketplace beyond your current network and beyond even just the referrals and your clients and your network connect you to, the greater market, if you will, they start to take notice. You go from not being on the radar of the marketplace, now all of a sudden being on the radar of the marketplace, and they don't just know your name, they know they can connect your name to your area of expertise. So as you build your body of work, you're kind of producing and creating intellectual property, and that might be models or frameworks, but it can also be articles. And so this can show up in terms of speaking at events, delivering online trainings or webinars or things of that nature. It can be writing articles on your own website/blog. It could also be you writing articles for industry publications. It could be starting a YouTube channel. Whatever it is, again, many different formats and things I didn't touch or I didn't mention, but the idea is that you demonstrate your expertise and you deliver value through content. content. And that goes from being one-to-one, as you did with your initial network reactivation and just doing work and getting referrals, right? That's typically a more one-to-one type of approach, to content, which is one-to-many, okay? So that's the next progression. Now, beyond that is generally social presence. And so a social presence might be that you are active on a platform like LinkedIn, and you start not only sharing some ideas, but generally, and the reason why the kind of social presence happens after content is that when you have content, you can amplify the distribution and the visibility of that content by being active on social platforms. Now, I will say that there's many consultants that don't enjoy being active on social platforms and therefore are not active on social platforms. And that's okay. You can still build multi-million-dollar business without being active on social platforms. But again, we're talking about the progression. And so what often happens if you're a solo consultant, you'll start to kind of dabble in social stuff. But for those that are kind of leveling up, or they're becoming more established, or they want to cover more ground, they want to attract more leads and increase their visibility, this is where a contractor or a full-time person, essentially somebody on your team, starts to help you to build out this presence. And so you can't be, all places yourself all the time. You can't be delivering project work, creating content, being active on social, speaking. You can't do all of these things likely at the scale that you want to all by yourself. If you are doing all those things, you probably aren't doing much else. So to scale this, right, to be able to reach more people, to increase the distribution and the visibility, generally you're going to have someone else that is helping you with some of these things. And so that now starts to help you with your social presence, because whether you're posting content on LinkedIn or some other platforms, you're taking, right, the knowledge that you have and you are now getting in front of these other networks. So that's that next progression. Now, beyond that, and this is one that most consultants actually do not do, and very few talk about, and very few understand, and that is paid media. So when I say paid media, what I'm talking about are things like running ads, and that might be Facebook ads, might be X/Twitter ads, it might be Google ads, it might be LinkedIn ads, it might also be radio advertising or newspaper advertising or magazine advertising or a newsletter advertising, podcast advertising. I don't know if I said YouTube advertising. There's just so many different opportunities for paid media, and I'll share why I think this is, right? Or why very few consultants touch this. Number one is that if you go through the initial progressions that I mentioned and you do those well and you have a good strategic plan in place, you generally don't need to do paid media to reach your goals. That's number one. Number two is that consultants generally are quite conservative when it comes to investments that they make. They think through a lot of stuff, right? I'm including myself in this, right? Over the years, I've certainly learned that you need to do some R&D. You need to expand. You need to kind of take steps and take actions that you're not initially comfortable with, because if you just keep doing the same things that you've always been doing, you're not going to create that next level growth. You're not going to be able to see bigger opportunities. You're not going to be able to capitalize kind of greater opportunities that if you're only doing the same things you're always doing, you're just not going to see those things, right? You're not going to be able to reach those higher levels. So being conservative, what most consultants find is that when they think about paid ads or paid media, number one, it's not necessary generally to reach multi-million dollars per year. But the other reason is because people look at it as a cost, and they think, yeah, I don't want to spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever, maybe dollars per month in paid media, because that's a lot of money. I can keep in my pocket. It would take away my profitability, but like all kinds of reasons. And so I'm not saying that you should do paid media, because I think there's a time and a place for it. And certainly in the early stages, for most consultants that are working with organizations, that's not the right thing for you to do. And this is actually where a lot of stuff that you see online, they tell you, do ads and run Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads and Google ads and do all this stuff. It generally isn't the best way to reach a CEO or COO or CFO or, vice president of sales. Generally not the best way to reach these people unless you really have a good kind of paid media strategy in place. So the conservative part of it is one of the reasons as well. And then the other one, which kind of ties into this, but this is a bigger, just more general marketing kind of investment concept, is that for a lot of people, they view investing in, or they view marketing, or they view putting money into paid media as a cost. They don't view it as an investment. And one thing that, we've taught a lot of our clients over the years and shown them and helped them to actually put this into place is that if you could spend $1,000 and that lands you a client that is worth $10,000. Actually, I'll just give you an example from one of our clients in Europe. We helped them to put together a direct mail campaign and strategy. And this is because where they were based in the country that they're in, they're not allowed to send emails to people that they don't know, they don't have an existing relationship with. So they couldn't just start sending emails to people. And their ideal clients were not active on LinkedIn. So we looked at how can we reach these people? Well, a direct mail campaign made sense. They spent about 5,000 euros to do this initial campaign. And so for a lot of people, 5,000 euros, right, might feel like a lot of money to spend on, on sending out a bunch of kind of direct mail pieces to a small group. This is only about maybe 30 or so people initially. So it could seem quite high, right, for the number of people that you're reaching. And so most would stop there. They wouldn't move forward with this. But that one campaign ended up bringing well into six figures, right? Well over, I think it was 200,000 euros or something like that it actually ended up bringing in. So that's a fantastic return on investment. Most people wouldn't even allow themselves the opportunity to make that kind of return because they're playing smaller. They're not thinking about the investment and the ROI potential. They're just thinking about the upfront kind of expense/cost side of it. So that's paid media. That's a progression. Now, when does it make sense? Well, it makes sense, I would say, once you have a good foundation in place, right? You want to kind of work through some of these other areas first, do them strategically, have a plan to do them, to execute them well. But generally, I would say, don't start, my opinion, my belief, my observation is don't start with paid media. There's a lot of other things that you can do to build that foundation, to get some really great business coming in, to build your brand, to build your reputation, all of that. You even also start creating some of the cash flow to be able to invest into something like paid media. And you may not even find that something that you need to do. But for many of our clients who have been with us for a period of time and they've built up their businesses and they've gone from early stages to building a team and they're making a lot more money and they haven't done paid media, then we can start having conversations about, does that make sense for you? And in many cases it does. And then you don't have to spend generally a lot of money in paid media initially. There's ways to just put a small budget, test some stuff out, and then start to scale it and grow it from there. But that's the progression. So again, just to kind of recap, network, then just doing great work, you're getting referrals through that. And that might be referrals again to other companies and people, or it might be referrals deeper into that organization, into different departments or, subsidiaries and so forth. Then it's content and speaking, writing, podcasts, videos, right? All that stuff, a social presence. And then the final one is paid media. And if you want help in any of these areas, or you want to talk about your specific situation and just kind of get an observation or letting you know kind of what we see in terms of the opportunity for you to go from where you are to that next level, what that plan might look like, what those steps might be, then just click on the link below this video, get in touch, schedule a call, and we'll be happy to chat with you about what you need to do to take your business to that next level.